the covenant broken. The medical convoy moved through the designated humanitarian corridor like a constellation of hope against the infinite darkness. 3 ships painted brilliant white with the universal symbol of healing glowing along their hulls. The UES Hippocrates led the formation, followed by her sister ships Florence and Pasteur. Together, they carried 4,000 souls dedicated to a singular purpose that transcended species and borders: the preservation of life. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Hippocrates, reviewing the patient manifests from 17 different worlds. The plague ravaging the outer colonies didn't discriminate between human, Altarian, or even Zarathi civilians. Disease was the great equalizer, and Earth's medical corps had answered the call without hesitation. "Captain, we're receiving standard acknowledgement pings from all coalition checkpoints," Lieutenant Torres reported from communications. "The Zarathi patrol vessel Crimson Talon is requesting our medical transponder verification." Chen nodded, her weathered face showing the fatigue of 3 weeks traveling between infected worlds. "Transmit all credentials. Full transparency as always." The verification process was routine. Every spacefaring civilization had agreed to the Galactic Medical Accords 40 years ago. Hospital ships were sacrosanct, protected by laws older than most stellar governments. They flew under no flag but mercy itself. Dr. Mikhail Volkov entered the bridge, his usually jovial face drawn with concern. "Sarah, we need to discuss the supply situation. We're running low on broad-spectrum antibiotics. After we deliver to Colony 7, we'll need to return to Earth for resupply." "Understood, Mikhail. Once we clear the system, I'll request a priority return corridor from Coalition Command." The tactical display suddenly flared crimson. Multiple contacts materialized from behind the system's largest moon, where sensor shadows had hidden them. 12 Zarathi warships dropped their stealth field simultaneously, weapons already charging. "Captain," Torres's voice cracked. "The Zarathi fleet is targeting us. This has to be a mistake." Chen lunged for the communications panel. "Zarathi vessels, this is Captain Chen of the medical convoy Hippocrates. We are unarmed hospital ships on a humanitarian mission. Check your targeting sensors. Our transponders are active and verified." The response came through crystal clear. War Commander Krexal's translated voice carried no emotion. "Human vessels, your medical status is irrelevant. The Zarathi Empire has decided that humanity's expansion ends today. Your weakness in hiding behind healing symbols will be your species' epitaph." Chen's blood turned to ice. "War Commander, there are 1,500 patients aboard these ships. 700 of them are your own people. Children from your frontier colonies dying from the plague. Acceptable losses for the greater glory of the Empire. Your destruction will serve as a message to Earth. Humanity's compassion is its fatal flaw." The first plasma lance cut through the Florence's hull like tissue paper. The ship's medical bays decompressed instantly, sending patients and staff tumbling into the frozen void. The Pasteur tried desperately to maneuver, but hospital ships weren't built for combat evasion. They were built to be seen, to be recognized, to be protected. Chen activated the emergency beacon, her hands steady despite the chaos erupting around her. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Hippocrates. We are under attack by Zarathi military forces. Hospital ships being destroyed. 4,000 medical personnel and patients. No survivors expected. Tell Earth. Tell them we held to our oaths until the end." The Hippocrates shuddered as multiple weapon strikes tore through her unarmored hull. The medical bay, where Dr. Volkov had been preparing treatments for Zarathi children, vaporized in nuclear fire. Engineering sections collapsed. Life support failed, deck by deck. In her final moments, Captain Chen looked at the stars through the cracking bridge viewport. She thought of her daughter back on Earth, studying to be a doctor like her mother. She wondered if humanity would remember that they died trying to save their enemies' children. The last thing the galaxy heard from the medical convoy was the automated distress beacon, broadcasting the names of the dead into the cosmic silence. 8 light-years away, Admiral Marcus Stone stood in the war room of Earth Defense Command. The emergency transmission had arrived 14 minutes ago. He'd watched it 7 times, each viewing adding another layer to the cold fury settling into his bones. "How many?" President Maria Rodriguez asked, though she already knew the answer. 4,037 souls, Madam President. Doctors, nurses, medics, and their patients, including 900 children under the age of 10. The War Council sat in absolute silence. 22 of humanity's highest military and civilian leaders, representing every nation and orbital colony. The weight of what came next pressed down on them all. General Harrison of the Marines spoke first. They deliberately targeted hospital ships treating their own people. This wasn't war. This was murder. The coalition is already calling for restraint, Foreign Minister Tanaka added quietly. They're afraid of what we might do. Stone turned to face the council fully. They should be. For 2 centuries we've held back. We've followed every rule, every convention, every restriction on warfare that the galaxy asked of us. We locked away weapons that could crack planets. We shelved technology that could reduce fleets to atoms. We did this because we wanted to be part of something greater than our own violent history. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. The Zarathi just showed us what our restraint bought us. 4,000 healers dead because we appeared weak, because compassion looked like vulnerability. President Rodriguez stood slowly. Admiral Stone, I am authorizing Operation Nemesis. All restrictions on human military technology are hereby lifted. The Geneva Conventions are suspended for operations against the Zarathi Empire. Madam President, Minister Tanaka interjected, the galactic community watched hospital ships burn. Rodriguez cut him off. They can watch what happens next. Stone nodded grimly and turned to his staff. Send the recall signal. Every human vessel in Coalition space is to return immediately. Activate the Ghost Fleet. Unseal the forbidden vaults. Across human space, things that had been sleeping began to wake. In the dark spaces between stars, automated shipyards that had been dormant for decades flickered to life. Ships designed for a war humanity hoped never to fight powered up their reactors. The Ghost Fleet had been humanity's insurance policy. 300 vessels equipped with technology that violated every military treaty humanity had signed. Weapons that didn't just destroy ships but unraveled them at the molecular level. Artificial intelligences that could outthink any biological tactical mind. Stealth systems that made ships functionally invisible to every known sensor type. Captain Jessica Park commanded the lead Ghost Fleet vessel, Revenant. She'd spent 15 years training for a mission everyone hoped would never come. As her ship emerged from its hidden dock inside a hollowed-out asteroid, she opened a channel to her crew. Ladies and gentlemen, you all know why we're here. The Zarathi killed 4,000 medical personnel and patients. They targeted hospital ships treating their own dying children because they thought human compassion was weakness. We're about to show them that human mercy was the only thing protecting them from human wrath. The crew's response was unanimous silence. No cheers, no battle cries. What came next wasn't glorious. It was necessary. Within 72 hours, 300 Ghost Fleet ships had assembled at the edge of human space. The regular fleet had pulled back from all coalition activities, leaving allies confused and enemies nervous. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how humanity would respond to the greatest atrocity in recent memory. Admiral Stone stood aboard his flagship, Nemesis, looking at the tactical display showing Zarathi space, 50 systems, 200 inhabited worlds, a military force of 800 ships that had never lost a major engagement. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're receiving multiple communications from the Coalition Council. They're demanding to know our intentions. Our intentions? Stone's voice was flat, emotionless. Our intentions are to ensure that no one ever fires on a hospital ship again. Open a channel to the Zarathi High Command. The connection established quickly. War Commander Krexile appeared on screen, his insectoid features showing what might have been amusement. Admiral Stone, have you come to surrender? Or perhaps to beg for mercy for your remaining medical vessels? Stone stared at the alien for a long moment. War Commander, I'm going to ask you one question. Do you regret it? Regret? Your weakness needed to be demonstrated. Your species hides behind. Stone cut the channel. He turned to his fleet. All ships execute Nemesis protocol. No quarter, no mercy. No survivors among their military. Civilian populations are not to be targeted, but military assets are free game. Show them why humanity wrote rules for war. The Ghost Fleet vanished into the cosmic dark, 300 harbingers of humanity's true nature, when pushed beyond the boundaries of civilized conflict. The Zarathi Empire was about to learn that human mercy hadn't been weakness, it had been a cage, and they had just unlocked it. The price of crossing the line. War Commander Krexile stood in the strategic command center of the Zarathi Empire's military capital. reviewing the tactical displays with satisfaction. The destruction of the human medical convoy had sent ripples of fear through Earth's colonies. Already, 3 human worlds had submitted requests for negotiation rather than face the might of the Zarathi fleet. The humans cower as predicted. His second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vextor, chittered with amusement. Their combat fleet has completely withdrawn from Coalition space. They flee before we even pursue. Weakness, Krexall confirmed. They value individual lives over victory. It will be their downfall. Prepare the second phase. We strike their industrial centers while they scramble to protect their remaining medical vessels. The tactical display flickered, then went dark entirely. Technical malfunction? Krexall demanded. Before anyone could respond, the lights in the command center died. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing everything in a sickly green glow. Then the primary tactical display returned, showing something impossible. 40 Zarathi warships in the outer defense perimeter had simply vanished from the sensor grid. Not destroyed, not offline. Gone. Get me active sensors on those coordinates immediately. Krexall's voice had lost its earlier confidence. The sensor data came back showing expanding clouds of metallic dust where the ships had been. The molecular structure suggested they had been disassembled at the atomic level. While Krexall processed this impossibility, another 20 ships winked out of existence. The humans hadn't fled. They had been positioning. Ghost fleet ships materialized throughout Zarathi space like phantoms given form. They didn't appear on sensors until they chose to be seen. Usually moments before another Zarathi vessel simply ceased to exist. The weapons they employed defied conventional understanding. Nanoswarms that consumed ships from the inside out. Gravitational weapons that compressed vessels to the size of marbles. Energy beams that deleted the strong nuclear force holding atoms together. Captain Park's Revenant appeared directly above the Zarathi military capital, her ship's stealth systems dropping just long enough to deliver a message. War Commander Krexall, this is Captain Jessica Park of the Terran Ghost Fleet. You killed 4,000 medical personnel and patients. You murdered 900 children, including 300 of your own species. This is not war. This is judgment. Krexall tried to respond, to threaten, to negotiate, but the channel was already closed. He watched helplessly as the pride of the Zarathi fleet tried to engage enemies they couldn't properly detect, using weapons that seemed to violate the fundamental laws of physics. The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 18 hours. The Ghost Fleet didn't target civilian populations or infrastructure. They were surgically precise, eliminating every military vessel, every weapons platform, every defensive installation. The Zarathi military, which had terrorized a dozen species for centuries, was systematically deleted from existence. Sub-Commander Vextor rushed into the command center, his exoskeleton pale with fear. War Commander, the Homeworld Defense Fleet is gone. All 800 ships. They're just gone. Impossible, Krexall muttered, but the evidence was undeniable. Contact the Coalition. Tell them the humans have gone insane. Tell them the Coalition fleet is already here, War Commander. They've been watching for the last 6 hours. Admiral Thexville of the Coalition Peacekeeping Force had indeed been watching. His fleet of 200 ships from 15 different species had arrived expecting to mediate, to prevent an escalation. Instead, they had witnessed the complete dismantling of the most powerful military force in the known galaxy. The Ghost Fleet had ignored them entirely, focused solely on their mission. When the last Zarathi military vessel was reduced to component atoms, the human ships began to withdraw, but not before Admiral Stone himself appeared on every communication channel in the galaxy. This is Admiral Marcus Stone of Earth Defense Command. Let the record show that the Zarathi Empire fired upon clearly marked hospital ships, murdering 4,000 medical personnel and patients who were treating victims of plague, including Zarathi children. They violated the most sacred law of civilized space. Stone paused, his weathered face showing no emotion. Humanity spent centuries learning to cage our demons. We wrote rules of war because we knew what we were capable of without them. We followed your coalition's laws because we wanted to be better than our history. The Zarathi reminded us why those rules exist. The tactical display behind him showed the debris fields that had once been the Zarathi fleet. Every species watching this transmission now understands the truth. Human mercy was not weakness. It was a choice. The Zarathi removed that choice when they fired on healers and children. This is what humanity looks like when we stop choosing mercy. War Commander Krexall, watching from his now defenseless command center, finally understood his fatal error. The humans hadn't been weak. They had been voluntarily restraining themselves, and he had given them a reason to stop. Admiral Thexavel of the Coalition fleet opened a priority channel to Admiral Stone. Admiral, while we understand your anger, this level of response violates every military convention the Coalition has established. You've deployed weapons that work, Stone interrupted. Weapons that could have ended any conflict in hours, but that we chose never to use. Tell me, Admiral Thexavel, where was the Coalition when the Hippocrates was burning? Where were your conventions when children were being spaced because they had the misfortune to be patients on a human medical ship? Silence filled the channel. Stone continued. The Ghost Fleet will now enter permanent patrol status. Any vessel from any species that fires upon medical ships, refugee transports, or other protected non-combatants will face the same response. We're done pretending that following rules means anything if only we follow them. You're threatening the entire galaxy. Thexavel's translated voice carried disbelief. No, Admiral. We're protecting it. From itself, if necessary. Humanity tried to be civilized. We locked away our worst weapons, shelved our most effective tactics, chose mercy over victory time and time again. The galaxy has now seen what happens when that courtesy is not reciprocated. Captain Park's voice joined the transmission. We've uploaded the full capabilities of the Ghost Fleet to every military database in known space. Study them carefully. Understand that these 300 ships represent less than 10% of what humanity could deploy, if truly threatened. We don't want to be your enemies, but if you force us to be, we won't be the kind of enemy you can defeat. The transmissions ended. The Ghost Fleet vanished back into the darkness between stars, leaving only the drifting molecular dust of what had been the Zarathi military, as proof they had ever been there. In the following days, something unprecedented happened. Every hostile species in the galaxy quietly updated their military doctrines with a single, universal rule: never fire upon medical vessels. The Skarn Confederation, locked in a brutal war with the Altarians, jointly announced they would share medical resources. The Vendari Empire began marking their hospital ships with even larger protective symbols. War Commander Krexal was brought before a tribunal of his own people. With no military to protect them and their economy in ruins from the loss of their war fleet, the Zarathi civilians who had lost children on those hospital ships demanded justice. He was convicted of crimes against sapience and executed by his own people, a final judgment on his fatal misunderstanding of human nature. 3 months after the incident, a new sight appeared in the galaxy. Human medical ships returned to space, once again painted white and broadcasting their healing mission. But now each one was accompanied by a single Ghost Fleet escort, visible just long enough to be detected before vanishing into stealth. The message was clear: humanity would continue to choose mercy, to heal, to help. But that choice would never again be mistaken for weakness. Dr. Emily Chen, daughter of the late Captain Sarah Chen, stood on the bridge of the newly commissioned hospital ship Hippocrates II. She wore her mother's medical insignia and carried on her mission. As they approached their first patient pickup, a Zarathi colony still dealing with plague outbreaks, she received a transmission. Hospital ship Hippocrates II, this is Zarathi Colony 7. We are grateful for your assistance, despite everything. Emily looked at the stars, thinking of her mother. Colony 7, this is Dr. Chen. Medical assistance doesn't recognize borders or past conflicts. We're here to heal. That's what we've always been here to do. As the hospital ship docked and began treating Zarathi children, the same children whose species had murdered her mother, the galaxy understood something fundamental about humanity. They could unleash hell itself when pushed to it. They could deploy weapons that turned matter to dust and tactics that erased entire fleets. But given the choice, they would always choose to heal first. The Ghost Fleet remained out there, invisible guardians ensuring that humanity's mercy would never again be mistaken for weakness. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans wrote rules of war not because they were weak, but because they knew exactly how strong they could be, and everyone prayed they would never have to learn that lesson again. Admiral Stone retired shortly after the Zarathi incident, his final words to the Coalition Council becoming legend. We are not warriors because we love war. We are healers who learn to fight because sometimes that's the only way to protect the right to heal. The stars witnessed it all, the death of innocence, the wrath of humanity, and ultimately the return of mercy, now protected by the promise of consequences for those who would abuse it. Humanity had shown the galaxy both sides of their nature, the hand that heals and the fist that destroys, and everyone understood that the choice between them rested not with humanity, but with those who would interact with them. Choose wisely. The Ghost Fleet was always watching.